Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for a ninth place semi-final between South Africa and the USA. Because of the shortened format, it does mean that we only get two matches to determine the semi-finals, and unfortunately for the South Africans as well as USA, they weren't able to make it out of their groups. For the South Africans, they had a massive win though over the Pumas earlier on in the confidence or in the competition, so that will give them confidence heading into this matchup. And then for the USA, unfortunately, they had two pretty brutal losses. Now, Perry Baker is still not quite playing. He is in the coaching system for the USA, but I believe they're down to like 9 players who aren't injured, which is absolutely insane for them, and they will definitely be looking forward to the rest month coming up. But looking through at the starting lineups for the South Africans, it is Ryan Oosterhuizen, Tristan Lade, Saviwe Soyas-Wapi, Shilton van Wyk, Selvin Davids, Xander Reinders, and also Zane Davids, last man in the starting side. For the USA, it will be Ryan Santos, Aaron Cummings, Lucas Acamp, Jacob Rosell, Porter Goodrum, Jack Wendling, and also Ulu Nayu Tupu Aivaha, whose name I don't think will be rattling off the tongue very easily throughout these matches. Now, I should mention whoever wins this game will be going head-to-head with the Australians. Hey, Hamish, says Sean Johnson, welcome in. Yeah, Australia will be winning their game up against the French, so they will be through to playoff for 9th place in the game a little bit later on. We'll quickly get that exact time before the kickoff does get underway. Is Will Jordan playing? He is not, though, but I'm sure he would be pretty handy in a 7 setup. For the Blitzboks, as always talked about, whether or not Cheslin and Colby would ever consider going over and having a crack at the Sevens. I think he'd be pretty strong in there too, definitely because of his extra bit of breakdown work that he offers. But how's it, Hamish? Says Craig. Welcome in, mate. Hope you're doing extremely well. So whoever wins this game will be playing off at 7:40 p.m. New Zealand time, and that will be up against the winner of, well, it is up against the Australians. They have just concluded for their matchup. So 12th place USA taking on 4th ranked South Africa. And the thing is, the USA are not safe. Next leg of the Sevens, they will be playing for their spot on the circuit. Pretty much anyone who doesn't know how that works, the 8 teams, the top 4 and the bottom 4, so top 4 challenger, bottom 4 of the regular series, we see them play off, they get their rankings, and then they're pretty much at the top, and you face 1 to 8. So what is the point? We're just listening to this man without seeing the game. Rubbish, says Tangaloa, welcome in. Hope you're doing well. This is what we've been doing for the past about 4 years. We do normally get a few complaints, but yeah, you can go onto the World Rugby Sevens website. You'll be able to check out where you can watch depending on where you are. But I assume if you are here, it means that you don't want to pay any money for being able to watch it. So it's about as good as you're going to get, unfortunately. The referee in charge of this one is actually that young bloke. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but we learnt last week that he was the youngest referee for the Sevens, but it's going to be kicked off by the USA and nicely taken by the Blitzboks just outside of their 22. And Danielle says, Robert, welcome in. Going back across to the right-hand side here for South Africa. They were able to get off to a great start in their game up against Argentina, although their match up against Great Britain definitely did not go the way that they would have liked. USA, they've conceded, I believe it's over 65 points. As a ref playing, he is not, no, but he could be. He's young enough to still transfer into a rugby career. Only defending 25 metres out from their line, the South African. Selvin Davids has missed quite a few tackles throughout this competition. And actually, throughout the last comp, he had a few too. Lucas Acamp working his way towards the touchline before he is driven out. And come on, box, here's Craig. Now Aaron Cummings goes back across to the right-hand side. They're going to be shifting it wide. Go the box, here's Craig. And there as well. And I think for both of these sides, just having one more win under the belt, I think it would benefit South Africa a lot more than it will benefit the USA, because either way, US are going to be playing off in the relegation zone. Nice sell of the dummy. Gets it on the outside to LeCamp after a couple bounces of the ball. They just seem a little bit stagnant in their attack at the moment, the US. They don't seem to have that piercing runner like a Perry Baker that they used to have in this setup. Or even someone like a Joe Schroeder, just someone who can break the line. That's a nice offload, though. And chance here. Selvin Davids misses another tackle pretty much on cue. And they're going to be able to score it there. Jacob Brazil gets his first try in Singapore. And we're up to the third match. I believe only one try has been scored by the US throughout this competition up till this point. But a great offload. And then Selvin Davids gets him by the jersey. I don't think that man has ever missed so many tackles throughout his Sevens career. He has been missing the last-ditch ones more times than not, and that has led to many tries for the oppositions. But USA now leading this contest up against the South Africans. Perry Baker are still running waters. Now, if they have any more injuries, he might end up lacing up the boots and having a crack. That is kicked out on the full by the USA, not the start to the match or the follow-up to the try that they would have liked. Go the box, says Craig, and for the boys. And can't miss the tackle, says Danielle. Yeah, and Sevens, unfortunately, compared to Union, like if you miss a tackle in a game of Union, normally someone else is there to cover. Normally, you know, unless you're the fullback, they'll more than likely at least be stopped or at least have contact with another player. In Sevens, you miss a tackle, there's a try. And unfortunately, there's nowhere that you can hide because everyone knows exactly who it was that did miss it. Now Selvin Davids passes on the outside of Ryan Oosthuizen. A bit of a poor pass. Goes only around maybe the shins of Oosthuizen, who has dropped the ball into touch. You can just see the frustration on the faces of these Blitzboks players. They know that, honestly, they should be doing better, but you're just getting it wrong. And Oosthuizen just getting angry at Selvin Davids, saying, come on, give me a decent pass. Now, the USA have opted for the scrum. They had the option of either scrum or line out from just inside of their 22. I just said about the South Africans beating Argentina yesterday. That actually ended the massive winning streak that the Argentines were on, but because they made it to the semis, they have secured the league title for 2024-25 season. Going off to the left, Aaron Cummings. Good pressure being put on by the South African defence. Only 5 metres out from their line here for the USA. Lucas Lecamp joining up into the breakdown, but it's popped out the side, and there was a penalty that is then awarded to South Africa. Got 3 minutes remaining at the moment on the clock. And like they've said about the breakdown work of the South Africans, normally that's where they are the most dangerous, when they're able to get in there, work those turnovers, win the penalties. But there haven't been a huge amount of turnovers in the breakdowns, actually in general for the Sevens. A lot of referees are being a lot more strict with how they are penalising them. Just saying about Davids and the fact that he was in the Dream Team last year. He's definitely felt the pressure this year compared to last. Like last year, he was just playing his natural game and he was dominating. This year, you know, he's had a few fumbles along the way, and this rotating box side has made it difficult to find that chemistry. He will now go off to the right-hand side, going to Tristan Lades, I should say, almost through. And the ball has been ripped away by the US. Knock on advantage. All the campers stayed down with an injury. He is the last player that the USA want to be losing. And it does not look like he's too flash. Maybe a rib injury of some sort. Something near the abdomen. USA only 3 metres out from their try line now, going back across to the left. Nice stepping from Wendling. Moving up slowly. Zane Davids has been whacking everyone who gets within his proximity. Almost a drop ball there. Aaron Cummings, he didn't quite get that pass right. The man wasn't expecting it. Tristan Lades passes on the outside, and it is a try for South Africa. They've had to work hard for it, but Xander Reinders is the man who does score it. 2 tries in Singapore, 2 for his career. And just loose ball. Greetings all the way from Whanganui. New Zealand go the Eagles, says Alan in there. So hopefully you've gotten used to the new daylight saving time. It well and truly threw me off last night when we were sitting 3 a.m. then back to 2. Made the night a little bit longer. Now Tristan Lades does get the kick over, so that will give the South Africans now the lead with 45 seconds remaining on the clock. 7 points to 5 in favour of the Blitzboks. They have to keep on going though. Going to be kicked off high by Selvin Davids towards the right touchline. Well kept in by Xander Reinders. It was almost the case similar to the USA, how they almost kicked it straight out on the full. Now going to the left-hand side, Zane Davids goes to Selvin Davids. Stepping, oh, no, tripped over himself. Zane Davids manages to protect the ball in the breakdown. Reynolds stays and gets the offload away to Tristan Lades. Bit of a skip pass over the top to Xander Reinders again. He's already got himself one in this game. He's going to go for his second, but he's driven down. Safiwe Sawyer's up. He has to hold on, and that is brilliant work from Ricardo James Duarte. USA committed 3 men into that breakdown. And then from there, it meant that he was able to go short side. Yep, I was an hour late to work, shame. Says Alan in there. Wait, you're an hour late to work. So I guess, was that because you didn't put the clock back, perhaps? And Tangaloa, appreciate what you get. If you have alternatives, you would not have been here. Yeah, so it's like a last-ditch option for a lot of people when it comes to the broadcasters. But I do also think that the Sevens have really fumbled it by not having it free to air anymore. Like, it should be an option, definitely for playoff games. Like, maybe not so much group stage matches. But these matches should be streamed on YouTube, or they should be streamed on the World Sevens website. Because that's the only way that you're going to keep the ones who want to watch who can't interested. And, you know, if they don't do that, they've already cut it down from 16 teams to 12. So you've lost 4 audiences through doing that. So, you know, this year we might see Ireland, USA, Kenya and Uruguay all leave the Sevens circuit due to the promotion relegation, which is a lot of different markets that you're going to be losing out on, which would be a massive shame. At halftime in this contest, score is 14 points to 5 after that kick from South Africa did go over. So much better performance in this first half. It was a little bit shaky at the start, a couple of minutes that didn't quite go their way, but then from there, they're sitting quite nicely with that lead of 9. Now we have got there, no, says Robert V. And there's, oh yeah, it would be a massive shame. And I do think, yes, you can still have the promotion relegation, but it should only be the bottom 2 sides. 4 teams, like a side that finished 9th, shouldn't have a chance of getting kicked out of the circuit. But second half of this contest just about to get underway. We mentioned about the USA and the lack of players that they've got remaining due to injury. They can't afford to be losing Lucas Lecamp, which it did look like for a second that maybe he was going to be off for the rest of the game, although he is pretty tough. He's probably going to tough it out just for now. Next match will be Ireland versus Uruguay. That one is kicking off not too far in the future, and that is going to be playing off for the 11th place. The next game that is taking place for these two sides, or at least the winner of this match, will be happening at 7:40 p.m. New Zealand time. So in about 3 hours, 40 minutes, loose ball. Tristan Lades tries to kick it forward, but the football skills weren't quite up to par, and it means that the US get the ball back. Aaron Cummings, 5 metres out from the line. Goes off to Tupuola. Now stepping from Brazil, and that will be the penalty going the way of the US. Should mention there are 2 Brazils in this USA side, Ben and Jacob. Looks like the US are going to kick this one towards the touchline, just slowing it down a little bit. Not exactly a bad plan. With the additional game only a couple hours away, that one might not find touch or it just goes out. Absolutely agree. Hamish Certain Sports being promoted in favour of others. When is the Fiji game, says Jabiz. So Fiji are going to be playing up against the Argentines at 6:56 p.m. And that is 6:56 p.m. New Zealand and Fiji time after we had our daylight savings. So 2 hours, 50 minutes time. So we're then going to be playing. And then the other semi-final is just beforehand at 6:34. That is between Kenya and Spain. So we're going to get to see a bit of an underdog in the final, I would say, up against one of the top sides on the circuit. Now ready to throw this one in for the USA. Aaron Cummings, beautifully taken at line-out time. As already asked, are we New Zealand in this? So New Zealand are playing up against Great Britain in the 5th place semi-final. They will be playing at 4:34 p.m, so that is in around 30 minutes time. We are actually covering that game on the channel as well. Well, there's going to be a missed pass. That sits up now for the US. trying to bulldoze their way through. Looks like a great chance for a turnover, and Xander Reinders does get it. Fiji is definitely, or playing differently in this tournament. Yeah, they've looked really strong throughout their first 2 games. I just hope that it's not going to be something that all of a sudden halts. Like, don't get me wrong, they had 2 great wins over New Zealand and USA, but up against Argentina, I think they'll be tested a lot more, and that makes me a little bit nervous. We did end up doing a preview where we did predict Fiji to win, but we're often wrong, so hopefully we get this one right. That one's going to be worked towards the sideline. Nicely claimed by the USA right next to the touchline. That looked high from Ricardo James Duarte. Pulled him down by his collar. How much do you enjoy Sevens, Hamish? I love rugby too much. I'd rather watch Super Rugby than my team in the Sevens. A few of these guys are like the Barretts and D-Mac. Would whip all these Sevens players, says Robert. I mean, I do love Miss Sevens. It's the shortened version of rugby union in a way. It's unique. It's fast-paced. A little bit similar to Test match cricket compared with T20. But, like, we've covered every leg of the Sevens for the past 4 years on the channel or something like that, which is actually insane when you say it like that. But, you know, we've covered a lot of the Sevens. And, you know, the thing I will say is, with them changing it from 16 teams to 12, I do think that that slightly ruined it a little bit. And it's cut a lot of people away from watching it because they just don't have access to it anymore. When it was 16 sides, it used to be free to air. But they've gone a lot more money hungry recently, and it's hurting the 7 side of things. Now, going to be thrown in nicely by the USA, slapped down by Ryan Oosterhuizen, so the penalty will go the way of the US again. Young promising players are often lured away by financial pressures, says Danielle. 4 penalties going against the South Africans, so it has still been far from those classic Blitzboks performances we've seen in the past. One has been put into touch. Now 3.5 minutes remaining on the clock. Just talking about Aaron Cummings, how they need to get it into the big man's hands, or at least, you know, they've got a couple guys, Brazil out there, solid ball runner too. Ryan Santos, we've hardly seen throughout this one. T20 is great and getting a following. Sevens is going to die, methinks, says Robert. It will if they keep on going down the path that they are in terms of how they're kind of promoting it and how they're cutting sides out. But that's going to be a great try for Lucas Lecamp right between the posts. Yeah, I think that they really have to look at it and go, can we afford to demote 4 teams from the circuit each year? Yes, there's a chance that those teams don't get demoted, but, you know, is that too much? Lucas Lecamp going to be scoring that one between the posts. Now, does manage to convert his own try too, making the score 12 points to 14. South Africans still in the lead, but they'll be a little bit more nervous now after that last try. I feel like that was definitely not quite the plan for the South Africans in the second half. Almost kicked it a touch on the full, but nicely claimed by the USA. Does still run it into touch Cummings as he was right on the verge of going out. And now line out here for the South Africans. 2 minutes 20 remaining for a spot up against the Australians in the near future. Now, Ricardo James Duarte ready to throw this one in. He has already scored in this matchup. They're playing a little bit of party in the USA. It won't be a party in the USA if they get demoted in the next leg of the Sevens. It'll be, unfortunately, the death of USA Sevens Rugby. And now, it's a chance. Oh, no, in through the side from South Africa in the breakdown. That is Ricardo James Duarte. Another guy similar to Selvin Davids who has just become, in the nicest phrasing possible, a bit of a penalty magnet recently. Like last competition, I think he gave away 3 or 4 penalties throughout the matches. And those can be crucial too. In a game where you're so close, 2 points difference, it's now given the USA a chance to be able to kick this one into touch. And they will be sitting about 10 metres, maybe 15 out from the try line with possibly the last attack of the game. Still plenty of time to be able to strike here. I will mention whoever loses this game will be facing up against the... Where are they? They're going to be playing up against the French. And that will be at 7:18 p.m. New Zealand time. Nicely claimed by the US. Now stepping around. Couple missed tackles in a row from South Africa. And only 5 metres out from their line. Going off to the right, Lucas LeCamp backs himself on the outside. Davids has missed a lot of tackles, but he does make that one. And it might have been the most crucial one of the day for Selvin Davids. 10 metres out from the line, 40 seconds remaining on the clock. The US going off to the left-hand side, Aaron Cummings. And they got numbers here if they can just break that one tackle. Brazil with the fend, driven towards the sideline. Ricardo James Duarte. This time he gets the penalty for the South Africans. Has managed to get the jackal at a crucial time. Come on, USA, and good afternoon, HT's Blues. Nate, welcome in, mate. You are doing extremely well. And the USA now, that might have been their last opportunity to be able to score, unless I think maybe there's still enough time for one more line out or one more scrum. So that will be where South Africa have to make sure that they retain that ball. Yep, they have called for the scrum. 5 metres out from their own line. This is quite the risk, because if they don't get this ball in and out, it means that the USA have a chance only just out from the South African line. Next game that we are doing, though, ladies and gents, will be in 23 minutes' time, and that is between Great Britain and New Zealand. But the ball is fed in. Ricardo James Duarte back into the pocket. They will kick it into touch, and South Africa win this close contest up against the US, 14 points to 12, and they will advance to face the Australians in their next contest. But nonetheless, I do thank you all very much for tuning in. Definitely those in South Africa who have woken up super early for this match. I know it's only about 6:11 a.m., so it is greatly appreciated you being here for this contest. But we will see you all for the next game. Like I said, 20 minutes time, GB versus New Zealand.